everyone. The time is now 6:01, and we're going to begin our regular board meeting for Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation. We have a roll call, please.
Beverly Raymond. Here. Kayla Jacobs. Here. Jerry LeBeau. Here. Morris Albright. Here. Ingrid Holmes. Here. Daryl Anderson.
Here.
Melvin Getwood.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask that Ms. Raymond will give us our invocation. Stand for the invocation and the pledge.
In heaven, give us this day our daily bread. In temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Amen. Stands one nation under God, indivisible. Justice all.
Just before we begin, we want to welcome our newest board members, some returning, Ms. Beverly Raymond and Mr. Morris Albright. Welcome you both. One back, one here. I'm not sure if you served before, Mr. Albright, or not, but welcome to our board. Look forward to working with you. On our agenda, we have our minutes from January 9th, regular board meeting, our annual board meeting, and also the special joint meeting that took place on February 12th. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Has been moved and seconded. We approve those minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I've been informed that Mr. Kelly from the Port is not able to be with us on today. Hopefully we'll be able to have him back with us on next month to give us the presentation that he had planned for us, the update on the community engagement sessions. Next on our agenda, we have our CEO report, Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, directors. In your packet, you found my report for February, covering activities in January, which seems so far away at this point in time. The things that I want to highlight in the report as it relates to staffing. I mentioned to you at your January meeting that by this time, this month, we fully expected that we'd be underway in recruiting specifically for our workforce and community development position, as well as our business attraction, retention, and expansion position, both of which are brand new positions to the corporation. Well, since that time, those positions have been posted, starting to get some good feedback, some good applications in. Still have a long way to go. It's probably another 3 or so weeks that we'll have things posted, and then myself and Ms. Mueller will start the process of going through the various applicants and candidates and interviews and all that good stuff. So still on track, but as I told you all last month, and because we need the folks much sooner as opposed to later. But things are on track, and like I say, fully expect that we'll have those positions closed out in the next month, perhaps 2 months. Other thing I wanted to point out to you, on your agenda tonight will be the matter of approving a new commercial driver license program in terms of our partnership with Lamar College. I just wanted to, not to jump ahead, but I provided you some feedback in my report of how things went over the last stretch of time. That program continues to be in high demand. Not very surprising there, given all of the construction that we have going on, not just in Port Arthur, but the entire Golden Triangle, and there's no expectation that that's going to come to a pause at any particular given time. So that program will continue to be very important to us, as well as our other programs that we support. Talk a little bit more about that when you get to that particular agenda item. Other than that, should you have any questions about the report, whether it be tonight or after this meeting, by all means, let me know, call upon me, and I'll be glad to address anything that you may have questions on. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor back to you.
And thank you, Mr. Stokes, for your report and the updates. We will move now to unfinished business. That's agenda item number 1, to review, discussion, and possible action to approve PAEDC's quarterly financial report. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Been moved in second. Mr. Stokes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Directors, specifically for our newest directors, a little bit of quick background. Last summer, with the guidance of legal, it was decided to implement a quarterly financial report, not to replace the monthly reports. Those will still be provided, but the quarterly report is specifically designed and suggested by the Finance Committee to allow the board to have the opportunity to exercise its fiduciary responsibility in terms of keeping up with the finances. By switching to a quarterly view of the report, it allows ourselves to be better in sync with our strategic partner, the City of Port Arthur, in terms of their finance department. So this is the first implementation of that new process, covering October of last year through December 1st. December 31st, and this was presented originally at your January meeting, and for those that were there, a number of questions came up, and with the help over the next month or so of the Finance Committee and the very hard work of Mr. Ked, our financial officer, those things have been addressed. In fact, the questions that were posed are very much in the notes that are attached to the overall spreadsheet. And so that gives you those answers and gives us a good footprint for the future in terms of what information the board will need in order to quickly decipher the financial report. So I take this opportunity to thank the Finance Committee again for the many efforts over the last month in helping us get this tight and in a position where the board can more easily digest it and approve it if that is your pleasure.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Do y'all have a breakdown that y'all could get to me as far as your subcategories, as far as like, your fuel and lube, I mean, just, you got subcategories on it.
Absolutely. It's a lot of them, but certainly we can provide that for you.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Any other questions? All in favor of approving?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So,
Mr. President, this time I would request that items 2 and 3 be removed.
from the unfinished business, items 2 and 3, we want to remove
Yes,
those
sir.
agenda items. And while we're in the process of removing things, I want to remove agenda item number 1 from non-consent as well.
Question. So you're removing all unfinished business?
Except for agenda item number 1, we already approved that.
Right.
Just the last 2 items.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that being said, we're going to start at non-consent, agenda item number 2. Non-consent, item number 2. Review, discussion, and to provide staff direction regarding amending the PA EDC's Articles of Incorporation to reflect the name of the corporation to be Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation. May I have a motion, please? You have a motion, have a second? Second. And it's been moved in second. Mr. Stokes?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. A little bit of background on this. Over the course of time, and certainly over the time that I've been here, I've noticed that there is a periodic going back and forth between the name City of Port Arthur Type 4A Economic Development Corporation and simply Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation. As we go forward with our rebranding efforts, Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation, like I say, already in use, and tends to roll off the lips a little bit easier and certainly fits in a little bit better with where we're going in terms of overall branding. After consultation with Attorney Zach, he advises that that change would be simply just a matter of going into the Articles of Incorporation. Does not necessarily take away from all of the original documents and Articles of Incorporation, just allows us to also recognize Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation as an official name of the company.
Any questions?
Yes. Whenever you mess with the Articles of Incorporation, that still has to go back to the city council, correct? All right,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, sir. I was wondering, where are we going with this branding?
I just want to make sure that I'm on the same page as your question in terms of where we are going. How I interpret that is we will be unveiling new logo, new taglines, collaterals that will go along with that over the course of time. As most of you know, at the end of last summer, we lost our marketing person unexpectedly, so that has cost us a little bit of time. We're rapidly trying to get that backfilled so that we can get this overall program back on track, which was expected to unveil at the beginning of this year. Obviously, we're running a little bit behind on that, but it is still the intent and goal to refresh, update the overall brand and look and feel for the corporation.
Any other questions? All in favor for agenda item number 2? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Agenda item number 3, review, discussion, and possible action regarding entering into a workforce training agreement with Lamar State College, Port Arthur, for a commercial driving certification program for commercial driver's license class A and B. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion.
It's been moved in second. Mr. Stokes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Directors, as I mentioned a little while ago, it's one of our flagship programs. We, in addition to losing our marketing person, back at the end of the summer, we also simultaneously lost our workforce person. As I mentioned, we are on the heels of recruiting and certainly expect to have that activity back in line very soon. So in keeping with our partner and making sure that we stay on schedule with them, what I'm asking the board to approve is the rekindling of the program for this particular fiscal year. And because it's in recognition of the fact that this is going to continue to be a high demand program, that's not going to change. And we're going to continue building LNGs, we're going to continue port expansion, we're going to continue with the refineries expanding. Our need for truck drivers is behind, and the only way that we're going to catch up is to continue to proliferate programs like this. So to that end, ordinarily this would be annual. I'm asking the board to consider going ahead and making this a 2-year contract extension. Funds are available. What I'm asking you to do is to put in the funds that were budgeted this year, and then when we get into the budget cycle, I will work with Dr. Stafford, who is my counterpart at Lamar working on this program, and if there needs to be any adjustment because the market has changed, so forth and so on, the cost of tuition change, anything like that, then certainly I will come back to the board and let you know of that so that we can make any type of adjustments going into the next fiscal year. But this allows ourselves and Lamar to have a sense of confidence that we're going to go on with the program. And again, if, heaven forbid, we had any other interrupt like we had last fiscal year, the program could still go on and not miss a beat. And that's why I'm asking for this longer than normal period.
Yes, I haven't been on council in a while, but I remember the EDC loaning money to Lamar Port Arthur in exchange for the truck driving academy. I think it was for the armory. Has that money ever been paid back or worked out through the truck driving?
Before my time, I don't remember seeing anything that we loaned. I know that
You contributed over $1 million in exchange for X amount of students going through the program for free, from what I remember back in my day.
Yes, sir. You are correct. What threw me off, the armory is not where the truck driving program is. That is out in the edge. But your point's well taken. I do not, and Deputy Mueller, you can help me, I don't remember that being a loan. I thought that we contributed overall to the program. And yes, there are a fixed number of candidates that must be from Port Arthur that go through the program, and of course there's 4 different programs: scaffolding,
Right,
welding.
they were supposed to go through for free.
Correct.
All right. Did that ever happen?
At this time, they have not started enrolling. As far as I know, and we can get an update on that for you, but they are required to enroll at least 100 Port Arthur residents for free to go through those programs. I don't know who they have working there right now as far as trainers, because it is a third-party partnership with our local employers. So we can look into that and see where they're at with the local employers, what kind of training is going on there now, and if they've got any Port Arthur residents going through it. But it is separate from the CDL program. CDL program is a training agreement that we have separate from that. We did contribute money towards that armory building for construction crafts training.
So you're saying at no time was this associated with the CDL program?
No, sir.
Okay. Can you get me that information just for my benefit? Sure. And I'm fine with the 1 year with an agreement by the board on the second year. I'm fine saying that it's going to be 2, but I'd like 1 year, then you vote again, just to make sure everything's going okay.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, it was on the training program at Lamar that we gave that $1 million. Is that our responsibility to vent the kids, try to find kids, or is that Lamar University to do it? Completely, we out of it.
Yes, Lamar University would do the recruiting and application phase through their programs.
Anyone have any other? The only thing that I have related to this is we discussed getting updates on how individuals are moving through this program so that we will have reports so we will know exactly what's going on with the program. We need to try to get those back going. I know a number of people end up in this, taking the CDL, but one of the things we were trying to make sure is that individuals were completing and matriculating to work versus just going and we're spending a lot of money and individuals are not completing. So just so we can have some type of consistent program update so we can see exactly what our money is getting us. If we can make sure we continue to have that, that would be great. Now, we have a motion on the floor to approve this as it is written. Somebody turn their mic off, it's ringing. To approve this as it is written. I did hear sentiment from Mr. Albright suggesting that we go with the 1 year and come back and look at this again after that year. Now, we can vote on the motion as it is, or the motion can be amended to reflect what Mr. Albright is saying.
I make a motion to amend the resolution as follows, that both years are approved, but the second year has to be voted on by the board to continue the second year, and that Lamar Port Arthur supplies the EDC board with a quarterly report on how the students are doing and who's going through and everything, per the president.
Can I get a second on that motion? All right, it's been moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Yes.
What? One more motion.
Make a motion.
There we go. We're approving the motion as amended. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We finished approving and amending, right? Now I'm dismissing. Thank you, thank you. I'm so used to doing it in reverse. We've been putting things on the floor first now, so it makes us go back and make all these changes. So we're gonna keep doing it. Here we go. Agenda item number 4, review and discussion and possible action regarding the acceptance of a proposal from Industrial and Commercial Mechanical IMC for the quarterly HVAC maintenance with quarterly filter changes for the EDC buildings located at 501 Proctor Street and 549 Fort Street. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion.
It's been moved in second. Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll hand the ball off to Deputy Miller.
Yes, board members, before you is the quote from ICM. They have been our servicer for our HVAC preventative maintenance and filter changes for both of the buildings that we own here at 501 and 549 4th Street. We are recommending that we continue to use them for an additional year through their by board contract.
Questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 5, review, discussion, and possible action regarding entering into a purchase agreement associated with the purchase of approximately 1.2 acres of PA EDC owned property located southeast of Highway 73 and to the southwest of 9th Avenue. May I have a motion, please?
Point of order. Have you already discussed this before in executive session?
The property, no.
Isn't property and litigation supposed to be done in executive session until the vote?
No, there's no requirement that it go into closed session.
No.
No requirement. It's an exception, not an obligation. But if there are things that you'd like to discuss in closed session.
No. I only got one question.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Make a motion.
It's been moved and second. Mr. Stokes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This acreage is a part of a total of 7 acres of PA EDC owned land off of Highway 73. That is no longer a part of our strategic long-term goals. So we have been working with brokers to try to facilitate the selling of this land. This particular purchaser has started out with this 1.25 acres, but they've also shown interest in additional purchases in that area. That will be covered somewhere down the line. One of the things that I want to bring to your attention, if you noticed in your background, there was not a description of what the proposed purchaser wants to do with the land. We have requested that because we're obligated to do so as a part of the rules of engagement, if you will, since it was purchased with public funds. As of 6 o'clock tonight, we had not received that description. So in talking to Attorney Zach and his team, there was several options that I want to put in front of you. You can certainly proceed with approving contingent upon receiving that description. You certainly, and of course that description has to fit within the covenants that are in place governing the land. You can just table this all together. Alternatively, we can have legal draft a letter of intent outlining the key terms, including references to the covenants that govern that land and the proposed sale price, which is shown in your documentation, and submit it to the prospective buyer, provide them a deadline upon which they must respond, and if they respond by that deadline and said proposed use does fit within those covenants, then we're good to go, bring back to the board. If they do not respond by that time, or they respond with something that is outside the covenants, the sale goes away.
Where'd the $85,000 amount come from?
That was the original offer, and then that was then reviewed by the real estate division of our law firm to verify that that is a sufficient and fair market value currently.
Okay, and I'm just curious, because I don't remember how much the EDC put into this. And not that it matters at this point, but I would be curious, somebody would get back to me on what the total investment was.
Any other questions concerning this particular agenda item? I do know that this is one of those areas of land that we hadn't had too much success leasing or selling. So hopefully we can get through with this one, but I do want to make sure that we do it properly. It seems like something is missing right now from what we actually need to move forward with this.
You want to table it?
I think we need to get there was suggested. thing. There was a suggestion for possibly having the attorney to send the, what was it, the term? Letter of intent, thank you. I just drew a blank. Letter of intent, and having them to get back with us with the information so that we'll have the full description of what they are going to do. So can we table this particular item and ask Mr. Zek to do that, and then we'll bring it back and proceed from there? Is that okay with everybody?
First. Make a motion.
All right, motion to table. All right, all in favor? All right, thank you. We'll bring that back. So let me, which one was that? Number 5? Thank you. All right, agenda item number 6, review, discussion, and possible action regarding a recommendation to the Port Arthur City Council connected with the possibility of placing on the future ballot a measure to renew the original downtown payment assistance program, or to suggest a new program that includes a revised project boundary. It says requested by me. So let me tell you why I requested this. Discussion had come up concerning rekindling this downtown down payment assistance program to finish building out the homes that we initially set out to build. And I just thought it necessary that if those discussions happen, that those discussions should start with our board versus starting anywhere else, since we would have to make a decision on if we want to proceed with this and allocating or reallocating those funds to be utilized for this particular project. So at that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. By way of background, this is a program that was started in the middle part of the last decade. It was originally 3 years and then extended by the voters an additional 3 years. That program sunsetted on September 30th, 2022. At that point, 23 of the originally planned 60 homes had been constructed. A great deal of course, obviously I was not here, but from what I learned, a great deal of the impact was COVID and then the subsequent supply chain issues that followed the worldwide pandemic. When the program sunsetted, there was approximately $1.1 million funds that the PA EDC still had allocated for the continuation of the program. Since the program obviously concluded, those funds just reverted back to the PA EDC's overall fund balance. As all of us are sitting here today, those funds are still sitting in that fund balance. And we do not intend to obviously the board can do whatever it wants with the funds, but won't be recommending anything to you until we've settled on whether or not the City Council wants to move forward by putting this program back on the ballot for the voters to make a decision on. If that were to be the case, then at that particular point, so let's say hypothetically, a ballot measure went on in May or November, but let's just use May, then what would happen, and let's assume it was approved, then what would happen is that when we went into budget cycle for the next fiscal year, we would look at moving those funds to continue the program, and of course, ultimately, that would be at your discretion and your approval whether or not we would do that. But we don't have anything to do without a ballot measure that has been approved. So in this particular case, as President Anderson said, he wanted the discussions to start here because, again, the PA EDC was the one funding the down payment program. If that were to continue, again, that would require the citizens putting the program back into motion that came to an end on September 30th, 2022. Then the second part of the discussion is, does the board want to recommend to the City Council keeping the original boundary of the program that went for 6 years, or extending the boundary, and that is what's in your backup packet, a picture of the current, when I say current, the originally approved boundary, and then right behind that, what has been proposed as an extended boundary to cover more area. Doesn't have any effect on what we would have, because we're just talking about our 1.1 million. Obviously, the board can always come back and add more to that if it's so desired. But the goal, as I see it, is to, if in fact the citizens want this to continue or restart, then what they're restarting is getting the remaining 37 homes constructed. Anything beyond that is a whole brand-new program altogether.
Questions?
There you go.
Okay, I apologize. When Ms. Baloo came in to talk to us about that the program was locked in and it had no other home that they can build, and we had talked about at that time extending the boundaries to up to Woodward, which I see is on this plan. So she's still part of that group? Or are we going with somebody else? Are we going? We still going? I forgot the name of the group that she was associated with.
Legacy.
Legacy.
Yes, ma'am. That would be a decision of the board, kind of taking it one step at a time. And of course, whatever you recommend, as Charlie has made it clear to me, is not binding on the city council. You're simply making a recommendation to them as to how you would want the program to go if they decide to put it on a ballot. Let's say, let's go forward in time. It gets on a ballot, the citizens approve it, then it will be up to us to issue an RFP as to who will be the service provider for the program. May again be Legacy, maybe someone else. I haven't even thought that far ahead, but yes, very good question. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Legacy put up the money to build the house, correct?
That is my understanding. That was before my time, but
All right. But the
we were only
city-
doing the down payment.
The city put up the land, I think.
Yes, that's correct.
Legacy built it, and then we helped with the down payment that went directly to the bank. Didn't we hit a snag at some point that we had raised the property values in that area? And there's some, if I remember right, if somebody's making $250,000, they're not eligible for this program.
Right.
Which shrinks, horribly shrinks, what you can actually do. I mean, I'm all for it. For expanding the boundary, because the idea of infilling, is what we need for this area. I'm all for it. I'm just curious. I mean, I'm fine passing on now, but somebody's going to have to get to work pretty quick with Miss Blue or whoever else, just in an informal conversation. Is it even feasible with the income requirements? Because that's what I think we hit a wall with this program. Between the cost of building materials and everything else, we kind of ran out of land. If you take in this other land that you're talking about, Mr. President, you're going to gain more lots, okay? That's a given. But is it even possible to even do this program anymore?
I could use some guidance, because again, this preceded me. Is the question whether or not we're pricing folks out of the market?
Okay, I'm going to go hypothetical.
Okay, now I'm following. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that explanation. What you're suggesting is that if this program comes back to life, that qualification needs to rise to match current realistic conditions.
That's where it gets weird. I don't know if you're allowed to, because I think it follows some HUD code. Now, I'm all for passing this tonight, but there's some homework that needs to be done before, and I thought city council's gonna have, council's gonna drum this up also. There's enough people around to remember it. And it's just, is it still feasible?
Well, I have to rely upon the veterans. Please help me. Was indeed HUD funds used to secure the land and to build a home?
No, I'm saying HUD guidelines as far as income, where under this program that we did, there was some income thing to it. And if you go back through the records, or heck, call the city's gonna have it. I mean, heck, I guess I could make a couple of phone calls, but that's really your job. I mean, I would love for this to happen. I'm just curious if it's feasible. I'm willing to pass it tonight. I'm just saying, somebody needs to get on the phone and see if this is still feasible.
Well, I know that, I heard of the program before, and I heard of someone applying for it. It's not that easy to really get into the program, so what he's saying, we really need to look at it, because even though we're giving a down payment of $30,000, they still have to have the credit score, they still have to meet criteria in order to enter in this program, including additional monies, because we're giving only 30. They may need 50,000 additional to put down. And it's a lot of criteria, so it's something else we need to look at if we decide to go with this program, because they have to have their credit score accounts. Again, it's only 30,000 we're giving down. They may need more. So it's a lot of things. And also, I also understand that it always have to be a new home. I think they was trying to go to where if you just find a home that you want to purchase, they would help with the down payment as well. So there's a lot that comes with this program that we probably need to look at.
Okay, so my takeaway is that if the board simply decides to recommend to City Council that they give serious consideration to putting on a future ballot the reviving of the project, that it would behoove them to make sure they also do proper due diligence.
That's on us. That's on us.
I'm sorry, let me finish. Due diligence as it relates to whether or not qualifications to participate in the program. We are funding the down payment. We're not funding the purchase, the construction, the acquiring of land. We're not doing any of the vetting. We're requiring a third party to do that. But what we don't want to do, this is what I'm hearing you all saying, we don't want to even recommend a program that isn't going to be successful given these potential restraints. And if I'm hearing you, that's my takeaway. That would be a part of what I'm suggesting is the recommendation to council, that there's some due diligence that has to be done, if I'm hearing correctly.
I mentioned before, qualification is the key. If we can get people qualified to get into the program, we wouldn't have a problem. But the past, it has been the qualification that they have to meet in order to get to involved in this program.
Since it's been some time since we have engaged in this project, I think that one thing that we need to do in doing our due diligence is to take a look at the criteria, do our research, and make sure that we have a working knowledge of what's going on, the criteria, and what we need to do to even go forth to asking City Council to become involved in the process. That's the way I would approach it. But I think that, of course, homes are needed in the city of Port Arthur. We need to move forward with it, but we need to know if there have been changes or if we're still working under the same guidelines.
The only thing I was going to add, when we did this in the past, it was for affordable housing, and so that's what established the guidelines. Now, if we change that, I don't know if we can provide $30,000 down payment to people who don't meet those qualifications. So I agree that we need to do some due diligence in understanding what we want to do here. I think it's a great program. It really is something Port Arthur needs, but I agree with you, we have to do our due diligence to determine that. But it was based on affordable housing guidelines.
So, the idea was just simply to put it on our mind, if we would want to continue with this particular program. It's certainly up to the city, to put it on the ballot. I just wanted us to at least, consider what we would do, and that's what this really was about, so.
And if I can just add.
Yes, sir.
For purposes of clarity on the project, it's a Type B project, which is why it's going to go on the ballot, and it's found under 505-153, projects related to affordable housing. For purposes of this chapter, project includes land, buildings, equipment, facilities, and improvements found by the Board of Directors to be required or suitable for the promotion of development and expansion of affordable housing as described by 42 U.S.C. Section 12745, which means when implementing the program, our target is what is described as affordable housing in that section of the code. That's the main thing we have to be looking at.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Make a motion to amend, make a motion to approve the measure, but including the new area. And we'll go from there.
Let me have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose?
You got voted again.
All right, so now, one more time, for the record. We're voting on now the amended motion.
Make a motion.
All right, it's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? All right, I sure hope that's documented properly. Agenda item number 7. To review, discuss the possible action regarding awarding a bid and entering into agreement for janitorial services for a PA EDC location at 501 Proctor and 549 Fort Street. May I have a motion, please? It's been moved and second. Mr. Stokes.
And once again, I'll pass it off to Deputy Miller.
Okay, board members, we did do a request for proposals through the city's purchasing department for our janitorial services. We are combining our 2 buildings to be serviced by the same vendor, whereas before we had 2 separate vendors. So this time around, we're going to go ahead and combine it into one contract for both of our properties. We did receive 7 bids by the city's purchasing department. You'll see those listed there on your memo. The city returned the tabulations from the grading committee on these, and the highest scoring company was Southeast Texas Building Services. So it is the pleasure of the board to move forward with that company, being they are the highest graded proposer. And also the budgetary impact, I apologize, is will be $65,000 and $65,040 annually for both buildings.
Any questions? I have one question. I have to ask it every time. Who were we using before for this? Did they bid or no?
We had 2 separate vendors for both buildings.
Okay.
Southeast Texas Building Services was one of those vendors.
Okay. Thank you. No questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so today we have a closed session. So in order to, a closed meeting or executive session will be held pursuant to the following sections of Chapter 551, Texas Government Code. Section 551, 071, Government Code, to discuss with PAEDC attorney, pending and potential litigation and/or legal advice. Section 551.08, Government Code to discuss incentives for commercial and industrial business projects. At this time, we will move to executive session. Do I need to bring anything with me?
And you know what's so bad? I'm getting so old, it's like...
All right, time is now 7:28, and we're going to reestablish our open session. May I have a roll call, please?
Beverly Raymond. Kayla Jacobs. Jerry LaBeouf. Morris Albright. Ingrid Holmes. Gerald Anderson.
Here.
Melvin Getwood. You have a quorum.
All right. With there being no things to deal with out of executive session, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? All right, we'll see y'all at the next special meeting.